GB News, Darren McCaffrey.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Just on the supply of homes, you're right, I think it was about 245,000 in 2019, but you're committed to 300,000 homes by the middle of this decade. In fact, 300,000 is what experts says is standing still. No Conservative government has done it over the last 12 years. Can you give a cast-iron guarantee that by the middle of this decade, you would at least reach that manifesto commitment? And doesn't that frankly mean changing planning laws, dealing with NIMBYism? And just second of all...
With NIMBYism?
Yeah, indeed. And just second of all, on fuel, because today I think a new record's been broken that it's going to cost the average family 100 quid to top up their cars. Now, you've cut taxes in this country, fuel duty, by 5p. I've done some research on the train on the way up here, Prime Minister. In Ireland, it's 17p. This is in recent months. Spain, 17p. France, 13 pence. The Netherlands, 14p cuts. Germany, 25 pence. I could go on. 5p isn't enough, is it, Prime Minister? We're the second highest fuel duty tax country in Europe. You're going to have to go further than 5 pence, aren't you?
So, Darren, first of all, on our ambition for home building, I think it was back in, you have to go right back to 1968 to find a time when we were building more than 400,000 homes a year in this country. So, we've never built enough fast enough because of all the reasons that you rightly describe. But everybody understands that we are sensitive to development that isn't in the right place, and that's perfectly reasonable. We love our natural world. We want to make sure that you have development that is appropriate. But that's why I think the reforms that Michael Gove is putting through today, the second reading of the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill, are right, and they will give local people much more control over where to site things, to allow appropriate developments to go ahead in places where they will be welcomed and where they will help young people growing up in those communities. And that, I think that is what people want around this country. I think it will allow development to go ahead in ways that we haven't seen before. I can't give you a cast iron guarantee that we're going to get to a number in a particular year, but what I can point you to is the record of delivery under Conservative governments and the way that we do it. And clearly, you've got to make sure that you're not building everywhere on precious greenbelt land, that you're taking care of the natural world. But you don't have to. The trick to pull off to build more homes is, as I was saying I think maybe it's to Chris, you've got to put in the infrastructure. You've got to make sure that not only the schools and the hospitals, but the roads, the mass transit system, the transport systems, to enable those developments to be viable. The problem is, if you take a development like Barking Riverside, which I happen to know quite well, or all the stuff up in the Thames Gateway area. We're a long way out from Blackpool when we discuss this, but I remember these developments intimately because I tried to do. It's when you don't have the transport that they're not viable for the developers, and when they're not viable for the developers, you can't get the affordable either. But if you put in Crossrail, for instance, will enable us to do things that were simply not possible. And Crossrail will enable developments to go ahead in parts of our capital that were not economically viable. And that's one of the reasons. So you'll be able to give people access to the housing that they need. And that is what this government is doing. That's why we've got a huge programme of infrastructure, £650 billion worth of investment overall in infrastructure, skills and technology. Look at what we're doing. That is designed partly to enable the private sector to come in and build homes where people want them, where they won't be on the green belt, and where they can do the job for a generation to come. On fuel, I hear you. We made a cut already. What I want to see, the biggest cut ever in fuel duty. What I want to see is those cuts in taxation not just swallowed up in one gulp without touching the gullet of the fuel companies. I want to see those those cuts having an impact on the pumps. And we are watching very closely to see what happens. As I said, I think many companies don't want to just take profit. They do have a sense of responsibility, but we need to see it. When it comes to fiscal measures, Darren, as you can readily imagine, this is the province of my right honourable friend, the Chancellor. I'm not going to anticipate what he may or may not do, but I can tell you that we are going to continue to do everything in our power to look after the British people throughout this pandemic and throughout the aftershocks of the pandemic, just as we did during COVID. And I've said that many times. I think people know that to be right.